Are you interested in understanding GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, or Mounjaro? Then join us on the Plus SideZ Cracking the Obesity Code, the groundbreaking podcast helping people change their lives one episode at a time. The Plus SideZ Podcast is a disruptor. We're breaking down barriers, smashing stereotypes, and sharing inspiring stories that'll leave you feeling informed and empowered. Join us every week to learn from doctors who are specialists around GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, or Mounjaro. They'll provide you with science and facts to validate these incredible stories. But that's not all. We'll also bring you the voices of the GLP-1 Mounjaro TikTok community, real people who face the challenges of obesity-related diseases and disorders and discovered the incredible plus sides of GLP-1 medications. Our episodes are filled with heartwarming stories, laughter, and moments of triumph. You'll connect with our amazing community members who are reclaiming their health and experiencing their fullest lives. Are you ready to embark on a journey of discovery and empowerment? Tune in to the Plus SideZ Cracking the Obesity Code, and together we'll change the narrative around obesity and end the stigma. Subscribe now on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform and join our incredible community. Let's celebrate the plus sides of life together, because every story deserves to be heard. Every life deserves to shine, and everyone deserves access to expert knowledge and medication. The Plus SideZ Podcast. You're not alone. It's not your fault.
"20 seconds a week to lose 20% of your weight in a year with diet and exercise." That's the power of GLP-1s through Ro. Ro helps find the medication that's right for you, based on cost, availability, and your weight loss goals. Losing weight with GLP-1s is possible through Ro.
Woo!
Oh!
I'm Dave Knapp, man on the Mounjaro. That's why I'm here.
Big news for semaglutide.
I'm the most elusive of all the doses. So I have a couple theories, and I'm interested to hear yours. The first, who likes my Karnak hat?
Jokes about terzepatide.
You are on the pen.
Man, that's so fire. Why can't Dave do our thing?
Yeah.
Dave,
What's up,
Dave,
Sandra?
hire you on the pen to make our
Hi,
thing.
Dave. What's up, Sandra?
Hello,
Sandra.
Hi, Sandra.
That is awesome. 100 to left. I get it. 50's great. That's awesome. I remember that first 50. Whew, that was a big one. Do y'all remember that?
50 pounds is a big number.
Only 50.
Yeah.
And it's different body sizes seem like to be trends. Like it feels like when you hit below like 220, getting close to that 200, it feels very different than the 250.
I can't even imagine, because like I Kat and I aren't even close to that.
You are.
We're not though. Like
I don't know if I'm ever gonna hit Wonderland, and I'm
have to introduce you. Hold on,
Yeah.
we're doing weird because we forget, because we've been hanging out all week, literally.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so this is Jeannie, also known as
Hi.
Buddha. She's our
Mhm.
guest host tonight. She's actually helped
Yes,
us out
Buddha.
on another episode too, the new episode that's coming out, and has her own episode that is coming out as well with her community story. So with her and Dr. and Tia. So make sure that you subscribe and follow and get the reminder and all, because we got really good stuff coming out. She is going to help us tonight because Buddha went to the healthcare conference recently, and I probably should work that into a budget if I had one.
You should definitely.
I don't have a job. I don't know.
Next year you'll have a budget.
I hope so. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. But yeah, so she's going to hang out with us tonight. We have a community guest. We're going to have a good time. Set the stage just to start. We always on the podcast talk about things that could affect policy or access to medicine. Our goal is not to get political. We're not going to get political, but who's in office and change of guards of anything, anytime, anywhere can possibly affect what we talk about. We will discuss that from that lens only, but just know, like, this is a safe place. This is a place for us to come together, because we could all agree that I think that we all want to continue to have access to medicine and want it for more people. It's one thing I think we can all agree on. So we're just going to talk about what could possibly change, because that's what we do when we talk about the tea that's in GOP land. Okay. So let's just keep it nice and it'll be good. Just know we're not getting political. Okay. Yeah. All right. Woohoo. How's that? Okay. Welcome. All right. Back to the 200 talk. So I want to say about that, because Sandra, it may be helpful. something that Kat and I, so Kat and I aren't under 200.
Right.
We've been on the medicines a long time, but it was interesting because Dr. Galindo, I don't know if you guys follow her, but she's lovely. She's been on the show. She sent me a message because she has obesity and is an obesity doctor. And she was like, you're doing really great. It's just hard to treat. And then she talked about the trial, about the Sermont trial, the third phase. And she said that on average, over 3 years, most people lost like 50 or 55 pounds. Right. So she was like, it works. If you lose it and you're not regaining, like that works. And there may be other things that you can do, right, to be able maybe to like combine therapies or something. She was like, but it's just hard to treat. You're doing well. It's not your fault. And I think it's important because I definitely, because I've had obesity forever, the fact that I'm not under 200, I'm like, it has to be my fault. Right. Like, you know,
well,
I
and
do it all the time. I do it all
we
the time.
got to remember not to undervalue the fact that, especially those of us who have been in really large bodies and dieted before, not gaining for any length of time is a huge win.
I've never gone this long without regaining, ever.
Yeah,
I've never lost this much weight. I've never lost this much. So those are massive wins. Those are life-changing things. And I think I just, in a way, thought that I might get there. Like that I might be under 200 and what would that be like? But in my head, I also was like, people called Wonderland. I'm like, but Wonderland is good. Like it was great for me when I got under 300, you know?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Like I think it's such a, like, I'm just going to say it. Sorry, mom and dad. It's a mind fuck. The whole thing is such a mind fuck. It is. Like, it really is. Like, there's so much to deal with, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's a lot. I'm sorry for all the boxes, but you know, it's Black Friday.
Well, and then the reality is if you're someone with PCOS, like you've talked about, and some of the big hormonal issues like that I don't have, but you have, like you just gotta have different expectations about what these meds can do.
But it's interesting though, like we see friends that are like, it doesn't seem, I don't know if there's like a rhyme or reason, right? Like we have some friends.
It's impossible to figure out why.
Yeah. And I do think it may have, and then part of me, I was like, well, maybe it's just because, you know, like I have had obesity for so long. Right.
Yeah.
But then ultimately, I think there are some people that are genetically predisposed to obesity. But I've just always had this problem. And so I've always been a bigger person in a bigger body. And most people be like, but Kim, you're so tall. You're so tall, you know? And I get
you are.
I know everybody always says like, I can't believe you're so tall. I'm really not that tall. I think I just seem really tall because I like wear.
I've been shrinking. I used to be 5'8". I'm like 5'7" and a fourth now. It goes down every couple of years. I'm not kidding. I've been shrinking.
Yeah,
you're just slouching.
I'm down an inch. I'm down an inch.
Are you really?
Yep.
Stop it. You guys
used
are
to be 5'7". I used to be 5'7". No, I used to be 5'7". Now I'm 5'6".
Mm-hmm. There's no way. Do you think it's arthritis?
It's a real thing, baby. The bones, your bones, the calcium. Yeah, it's a real thing. Plus, all the oppression of the world helps to, you know, compress your spine so that you go further down.
Okay, cool. So, we're so glad to have you guys. Oh, look, Jess is here. Hey, Jess.
Yay. Hey, Jess.
Hey.
Jessie B. So glad to see you.
I do feel like we may have a lighter audience tonight. So those that have come, I appreciate it so much. I know that this is a big day for a lot of people emotionally. And I will respect that and treat that with care. But I appreciate you guys that did come. Thank you so much. And if you could like the live and share it out, and that would be amazing. Because people may want to hear about this. You know, we get a lot of replay on our lives, but still it is, I heard, and if you are rewatching this, like, please comment, because when we talk about these things, one of my goals, and I'm just gonna be like really candid, we're having all these opportunities to speak as a authority a little bit in this growing space, right? And from a podcast perspective, myself, Kat, John, whatever, right? If I don't hear from you, then it is very possible that I will speak from my lens, right? And so if I can hear how you think and how you feel and your stories and all of those things, it'll help when I'm starting to like have those conversations. So the lives and engaging with us is really important for that reason. So I appreciate it when you're able to come, and definitely even if you can't come, when you can comment. So just want to make sure that I let everybody know that. But yeah. So,
and I think it's going to be really interesting because we've got a whole, I think, fairly unexpected turn of events with RFK to talk about.
Yes, we do. Yeah, it's definitely because honestly, yeah, and we're not going to, you know, we're not going to get political, but it did happen, and we need to talk about it. I made a video with no emotion. I practice.
That's a win. Yay.
So I just think we need to talk about it. So, but without further ado, we have a community guest tonight. And so I want to invite her in because it's important and we need to do this. Okay. Hey, Mary Jo.
Hey.
How are you? Looking fabulous.
Mary Jo.
I feel like we've been friends forever.
I do too. Because you're OG. Like, I mean, I know like some people get sensitive about the OG thing, but you're an OG.
I am an OG.
Yes.
You are?
Yes, absolutely.
Like from the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, from the very beginning, OG card,
Yeah,
OG.
OG. Like when there was like 10 of us.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I have to say real quick, it's not a sad day in our household because it's my birthday. It's my daughter's birthday.
Oh, happy birthday to the daughter. That's fantastic. How old is she?
43.
Oh my gosh. Woo. That's a big one. So she's officially in her mid 40s. Say that to her.
Yes. And when she was a teenager, 42 was always her special number. Like when she was running track, that was the number assigned.
Oh, that's cool.
So she had the year of 42. So now 43 is going to be even better. And she's been on the journey with us.
Oh, that's nice.
And she's down, I think, 70 pounds as of this morning.
Gosh. It's amazing. Wow. How is she feeling?
She does amazing. She is the general manager of a small boutique hotel in central Illinois. So now there's no elevator there. So she can run up and down the stairs. She can fold laundry. She can, supervise.
Man,
she has 4
those
boys.
Things are like life, right? Like, I mean, just being able to go downstairs. Yeah, that's a big thing. Like their stairs are like my enemy because I have the arthritis, and they're bad for me even now because like you can't make arthritis go away, but the inflammation control, right, is such a big deal on these medicines. Like those things, like being able to like live your life, it's a big deal, right? When I went to see my sister recently in New York that I was posting about, she was in New York and she's at the top. And she rents a place in Brooklyn. It was, and she wasn't feeling real good. So I was like going up and down the stairs, getting the Uber Eats and all the things, but I was thinking how grateful I was that I could do that. Right.
Yeah.
Like those things are such a big deal. Stairs are such a big deal. Anyway, sorry, distraction.
Stairs are enemy. I just wanted to point that out. And Sandra, I don't have tea, but I will give you guys a vote in something crucial that I'm going to be planning for February. February. So you guys can get some stuff if you guys can get us up to 22 likes. I'm willing to make some concessions, but I don't have any tea to give. But I will give votes.
Swag. Also, if you go to our website and you sign up for our newsletter, you will enter to win the Barbie Stanleys. I got the whole set for us to do a giveaway or love away or whatever's like legal to say on these places.
And you get like there's a bonus.
Tim, that I received my little ghost that I won on one of your lives.
Oh, that's good. Was it cute? Yeah, I got that from TikTok. Like that was so cool. I was like, all right, yeah. I'm glad you won something. That's fun. I don't care what I win. When I win something, I just feel like
it didn't say it was like a package from TikTok. I'm like, I'm not getting it.
Like, what is it? That's fun. Okay, I'm gonna stop running my mouth. This is like typical Kim, right? Especially when I'm like hanging out with my friends. I'm like, blah, 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 So I'm gonna be quiet. I want to give you the space to tell us your story. Take all the time you need. This is not traditional media. This is one of the reasons why we do this, right? And we're here to support you. Okay. All right.
Well, I'm very excited to be here. I started out 10 years ago. I got to the point where I got so big that I couldn't walk 15 feet from the parking lot into my job. And I had to get special permission to park close. And I went to an orthopedic specialist because my knees hurt so bad. We all know how that is. And he was the very first doctor that looked me in the eye and said, if you don't get this weight off of you, you're going to be in a wheelchair. You're not going to be able to walk. And I'm like, hold up. And I even talked to my family doctor and I said, why did you never have this conversation with me? Over the years, you saw that I was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I had chronic bronchitis, always in the hospital, blood pressure that they couldn't even manage on 6 different meds. My bedside looked like old people lived there. I was on so many medicines that I had to take on a daily basis. And back when I was a child, some bad things happened and we ended up going to foster homes. And so I'm the oldest of 4 children, and I felt like I was responsible to take care of my brothers and sisters then. So, but in the meantime, there was nobody to take care of me. You know, I was 12 years old and put into that position to take care of my siblings because nobody else was there for them. So then, of course, the only thing that I could control was what I ate, and I ate a lot. And in the foster homes, they started me on Weight Watchers. They thought that was a good thing for me. So I didn't have any family around me, and I went to Weight Watchers. And way back in the day, you walked into the meetings and they weighed you in front of everyone. I was 12 years old and they're weighing me in front of all these people. And that number, you know, what that did to me. So then that's just the basis of where I started. And it just never got better. I remember graduating high school and I was bigger than I am now. So I'm smaller than I've been my whole adult life. So then I got married to a man that I should not have, but we had 3 beautiful children together, and there were preemies, and like my daughter that was born today, she was only 4 pounds. So, you know, they're born in the winter time, way back in the 80s, and you just stayed home and you took care of them, and you had those stretchy maternity pants, and that's what I just continued to wear. So, but I have all 3 of my children, and I have 13 grandsons, no girls. So then I got a divorce and I moved to the area I live in now in Illinois, and I'm married to a wonderful, wonderful man. He's my biggest cheerleader. And I had never had health insurance where I could go to the doctor and take care of my health and whatnot. And once we got married, after a few years, I was able to have the weight loss surgery. Because of that orthopedic guy said I needed to get the weight off. So I'm like, okay, let's get the ball rolling. So in October of 2014, I have the weight loss surgery. I had the sleeve. I lost 147 pounds, and I kind of, you know, that set weight that we've all been talking about, I kind of got stuck there. And when you have that surgery, you have about 14 months, they call the honeymoon period. And then after that, it's very, very difficult to lose any more at all. So I just kind of stayed there. And I was able to keep it off because I went to the office and I thought people were judging me and watching me, what I ate, what I did on a daily basis. So then come COVID and we moved home, and I didn't really have that accountability, and the kitchen was 10 steps away. So I gained 42 back. So then I went to the doctor in 2022, and she said, hey, there's this new medication out. I'm like, hey, I have it written on a sticky note right here. I saw it on TikTok. I want to ask you about this. So November 3rd of 2022, I took my first injection. And yesterday I took my 104th injection. And I have lost 123 pounds being on Mounjaro. And I'm very fortunate that my loving husband, hi, Gary, he is working past retirement so we can have the insurance to pay for my medication. So he started on the journey with me also. And he has lost 85 pounds and he's at a normal BMI. It's greatly helped him. And like I said, he's still working at age 68, just so we have the medical insurance that pays for branded Mounjaro. I am so very blessed that my husband loves me enough that he wants to take care of me and make sure I have my medication. So now my goal is to lose, I have to lose about 23 more pounds to have the skin removal surgery. They require me to be at a BMI of 35 and I'm at 35.8. So that's my goal. And so his insurance will help pay for that procedure also. For the longest time, the body dysmorphia, I only saw all this hanging skin and I would get so discouraged. And Gary would say, well, can't you see how well you're doing? Look how beautiful you are. And I'm like, this middle part is all I see. I don't see anything else. But this past weekend, we stepped out of our comfort zone and we went hiking in a national park so we could see God's beauty there. And I looked in the mirror that morning and I went, I have a figure and it's not round. I'm so excited. But I want to encourage everyone on the Book of Faces and TikTok. And that's been my main goal, is I want to help everybody. And I'm so excited that I tell cashiers, I tell my coworkers, whether they want to hear it or not. And Kim, one of your way last year, you said, hell yeah, we got to get loud. We got to preach it. We got to get loud. So when we have all these little surveys come through, I work for a behavioral health agency. I said, tell all my coworkers, make sure you put in the survey, we want insurance to cover obesity. They're discriminating against us. We need this insurance coverage. So we just had a Zoom meeting with HR just like 3 weeks ago. The first thing they said was, guess what everybody asked for? And I'm like, hell yeah, we did. Hell yeah. We got to get loud. And don't nobody care but us. Nobody's going to advocate for my health but me. I have to get loud. Yes, Ms. Cat. So, but then the next words out of their mouth was, yeah, that's not going to happen. It's too expensive. But then right after that, it was, we have 25% of our employees that are on blood pressure medication, and that costs us $15,000 a year. And I'm thinking, wait. If you would let us have this medication, everybody would be off blood pressure medicine. Everybody. I mean, I was on 6 just to try to control my blood pressure. Now I'm on 0. I don't take any medications anymore except anxiety medication. So I'm a big advocate. I think it was a coworker that was feeling kind of snarky. She kind of said that I was bragging about it. And I'm like, no, I want everybody to know and that this is possible, that you can lose the weight and have your life. God has given me back our lives, and we can live and we can travel and we can do things that we never were able to do 10 years ago. So that's kind of my story.
What did you say your husband's name was?
Gary.
Gary sounds like good people to me, you know? Yeah. I had 2 feelings when you were saying that, Pammy Jo. I thought how awesome that was to have someone that loves you that much. And then I thought how sad it is that that's
there we go. Yeah. It's sad that like someone in a retirement age has to work just so someone can have their medications.
Yeah. Like,
yeah.
And, you know, we want that to change. Right. I think you're right. Like, I think we're going to have, you know, well, it's very relevant. So we'll talk about it. But when we have the interview that we did with Noom, with the CEO of Noom, you know, we were talking about like this issue, right, with accessibility, with affordability of GLP-1s in general, and kind of what their plans were going to be, and all that will be, you know, in the episode. But, you know, I really, it's going to be hard to convince me that there's not bias here. And I can't help but wonder, like, if Noom is coming in from like a corporate level, which they are, right, and trying to talk to people. This is a little tea for you guys. And talk to these companies about having a program where people actually can access the compound from like a 503, a 503, whatever it may be, right? I can't help but think that if they think, oh, well, we're not just giving them weight loss shots, right? They're on a program, right? That maybe that'd be a little more palatable. And honestly, at this point, as long as it's care, I don't care. Do you know what I'm saying? Right. Because it's so bad. And I hope that we'll see a change there. And I want us to have more options, because I can't stand that. I don't know, like the whole thing, you know, and we'll talk about the clip too. And we're going to dig into the tea, but the whole idea that someone, and I forget the name of the gentleman that's on the, I don't want to be rude, that does the Fox show. I don't know. I don't watch those, but he does a show. Hubby will know the name of it. I can't remember. About late night show.
What's his name? Greg Gutfeld, sweetie.
Greg Gutfeld, yes. So I don't watch his show. So I don't know him, but he said, and I don't think he was trying to be rude. He just said, I'm a little concerned when I see a company that has approved like all these indications. And he's like, I think something smells. I think it's wise to go, something smells. But the reason that they have all these indication approvals, in my opinion, and you guys know what you think about that, but is for two reasons. One, because there's only 25% of insurance companies that actually cover anti-obesity medication, right?
Right.
There's so many weight loss exclusions. They didn't even put them in there. Yeah. So they have to find a way to get in the door. And the things that they're approved for outside of, I would say, what they're trying to get approved for in terms of like helping with addiction, right? The things they're getting approved, those are all things that come from obesity. You know what I mean? Like for the most part, like, you know, there's nuances, right? But type 2 diabetes, sleep apnea, do you know what I mean? Like,
well, they're correlated with obesity, and it's the same underlying metabolic dysfunction.
That's what we're like.
That's what's being treated.
Yes, exactly. So I think it was wise of him to go, what's up with that? Right. But I also think that if you look at the root cause, that's what they're treating, the root cause, and it causes all these other things, which is a huge drain on our country and our people, you know? And I just thought that was like, there's a lot of education that's going to need to happen, you know, over the next 4 years from us, you know? And I think that, and Jeannie could attest to this too. I think we're probably the ones to help that happen. You know, that's just ultimately what it is.
There's like no one else out there that's going to do it.
Ultimately, a bunch of influencers on social media started to fill that gap, because the gap is vast. And I think that we have to make sure we're saying the right things, and that's what we'll use.
Right. And I have a lot to say about that.
Yes. We'll go into all that. Yes. So, but I want to make sure that I gave you the time, but you just said all these things that were so relevant, that I gave you enough space to say everything. It was an amazing story. I'm sorry that I cried like a big sissy, but you know.
One last thing about my husband's employer that I think makes the world of difference. He works for a Japanese company. And the Japanese believe in their employees being healthy. They exercise twice a day, and they believe they even have a free clinic that I can go and have my blood work done for free.
Okay,
because
can I tell
want
you
us to be healthy.
That's crazy.
Well, something about Japanese corporations that I don't know if you know this, Pammy Jo, you might already, but they have to pay more in taxes when they have obese and overweight employees. So if their employees are over fat, the company pays more taxes. Oh. So that's why they have all of these weight loss programs.
So it's incentivized, which
it's punitive. They punish the companies for having so
I would say, I don't know, something to think about. It's creative. You know what I'm saying?
It's provocative
like,
right now.
is it more expensive to pay for bigger premiums than it is to pay for increased taxes? Like, I'm just saying, maybe it's something to think about. We're trying
but if they're covering medications, that's not bad. So
yeah, exactly. That's a big deal. That's very interesting.
Yeah, like if you go into big corporations in a lot of places in Japan, I did a whole deep dive on all this. You have to weigh when you go to work.
What?
Lots of places.
Oh God, why? Because of this?
So what you'll see it on TV. You'll see it in TV
like
shows.
Slippery slope. Yeah,
it is. It's very Black Mirror. You'll see it on TV shows, like people walking in and doing the group exercises at their desk and stuff like you're talking about.
Yeah. Group exercises at their desk.
Yeah, my husband has to do that twice a day.
There you go.
Even here? So he works remote here?
It's here in Illinois, this Japanese company, and the company president, they bring him in yearly. They rotate them out from Japan. But first thing in the morning, they have like a morning meeting. Then they exercise. After they come back from lunch, they exercise again.
Oh my God. Kat wouldn't mind that.
Well,
I used to
right in theory. In theory, it's not bad, but boy, it sure gives me the creeps.
Well, I will say about Weight Watchers, they used to make their employees weigh.
Well, the thing about Japanese countries too is Japanese companies is they come from a completely different work culture than we do in the United States. Like they actually over in Japan have absolutely no problem forcing an employee to work overtime and not paying them any money whatsoever. It's also, I've heard this part I'm getting ready to say, I don't know how much truth is behind it because of course it's anecdotal, but I'm sure that there are examples of against it and for it. But I've also heard that it's extremely difficult in Japan to quit one job and go to another one.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like they apparently there are rumors that they force you to apologize to your co-workers and to your supervisor and to all these other people. Yeah. Japanese like work culture
like it's very common for Americans to go, but look, Japan has it all worked out. Look, the UK has it all worked out. No.
Everybody has their own little level of a shit show, right?
Yeah.
There you go, right? We all have different shit shows, but they're all shit shows. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like maybe if you, that kind of culture, I feel like with what our background is, and I don't know, like if you insert us in that, but that would mess me up. That would like with the way that the things that I've gone through. Cause like I'm with Pammy Joe going in front of people, the Weight Watchers and being on the scale and all of that, that was probably my third time around. Right. Like my first time was with my mom when they didn't let kids in yet, but like you were doing it with your parents when I was 8, so I got a lot of stuff around that. I think a lot of people have a lot of stuff around that, I'm not gonna lie. That's why the Noom thing was hard, but I thought it was important because there are some, I have to quit assuming other gang, point like that everybody's had the same kind of trauma that I have had. There are plenty of people that like to have a program, and
when we were doing that, it made me really realize like the patient population that I'm used to is, and like we've talked about, everyone that we know on TikTok in that community is exceptionally informed.
Yes.
Because they're sicker, right?
Yes.
Where Noom is a lot lower BMI average, I would imagine.
Yeah. Yeah. I think when he said his number was 27. Is what they're
no, I think he said 27 was their minimum for prescribing.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that, and then I also think too, like when we're creators in this community, we are very much in the know and are very blessed to have the doctors and stuff, but many people that listen to Plus SideZ are starting their journey. They just found us. They just stumbled upon to us. They're not creators. They're not on TikTok. That's why because we're across so many platforms,
Well, you have the best library of information.
Oh, thank you.
So anyone who wants to start in on these medications, this is where to start. This is the resource.
Yeah.
And it's still moving. Like, it's still been progressing.
And we're trying. And if you kind of at the beginning, because that was over 2 years ago, or no, I guess, no, I can't remember, less than 2 years ago, but we started April 2023, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And when we launched it, we were just learning. And honestly, we thought it was about weight loss and obesity. But what we've learned from the doctors and from each other and from each other's stories is it's not. It's about health. But I think when the doctors have told you forever that your problem is the fat, then all you can think about is the fat and the fat going away, and the scale, right? You don't think about all these other things, but that growth and that learning. So if people listen to season 4, where we're challenging the status quo more, right? Thinking outside the box more, and, figuring out about cognitive behavioral therapy and all of these different things, it kind of is an evolution of where we started and where we are, like, in the journey. Like the hashtag Mounjaro journey, that's a forever thing, like it really is. It's not I think that I remember when people would start getting on maintenance, right, in the community, like at the beginning, like kind of our first people, the creators would be like, gosh, maintenance is kind of boring. Maintenance is kind of boring, right? And they thought that they wouldn't necessarily be relevant anymore. Some people would express that very candidly about it. And, and I thought that was brave of them. And then they realized that actually maintenance is very complicated mentally.
It is. And what the original presentation of maintenance, because let's face it, the people who are so excited because they lost weight quickly and hard were the first ones out there making content, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Those of us that are at a less than optimal BMI and in maintenance,
yes,
that's not the pretty after picture that sells.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, and I talk about this very openly. The way that our media is, they're not really calling up the people that don't have the very big to very little before and after. They're really not. And I think that's because the media thinks that's what people want to see. But I would argue that things have evolved, right? And people want to see people like themselves.
From being on the business side, I have a strong opinion.
Cool.
Marketing people present that because that triggers people to buy.
Yeah.
That is not what people want to see.
Yeah.
Both are true.
Both are true.
Right?
Two things can be true. My sister and I were just talking recently about that. And she was like, both things can be true. And I think that's true.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Because just looking at how to sell these drugs, how to do all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. The winners in this game are the ones still doing old school before and afters and all of that, and we get it, right? Because if we've never been pretty that way and never had that body, and we've been told forever that that's achievable, right? Yeah. This came up with Mattia, with that we have complete agency over that. We it's our choice to be that we're not perfect little beach bodies. And so we think that our brains think, oh, well, we can have that. Yeah. And so that triggers us to buy it.
Absolutely.
And that's all. And everyone still knows that's bad for them too.
Yeah. I think it's very, I think it's very visceral, because I know those things to not be the case, but my reaction is very much like
100%. I still have those feelings. I get them, whether I heed them or not.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's funny that you mentioned Beachbody because I used to be such a Beachbody. I buy all those Shakeologies and those workout programs.
Did you peg for a CrossFit kind of gal?
I did CrossFit. No, I like form. I like to make sure that I'm not throwing my weights. I don't want to blow my back out or something anyway, or blow a rotator cuff. I don't know. Watching CrossFit makes me
the whole blowing the weight over your head.
The weight, and they're moving it so fast.
That one scares me a little.
Yikes. Yeah. No, not for me. Not for me. It used to really frustrate me, but I figured it was definitely marketing because there'd be a woman who looked to me like normal size. Mm-hmm. And then get so chiseled and lose 20 pounds. I lost 20 pounds. And me, girl, I could go to the bathroom and drop 20 pounds.
Right?
You're right.
And first of all, you don't even your before is what I want to look like. But yes, with Beachbody, I just did it for the programs. I loved their workout programs.
Yeah.
This was way before the advent of Mounjaro, of course. And so I would always be like, why is this Shakeology? It's supposed to be so filling. I drink the shake and I want a sandwich.
Yeah. So when I was in New York with my sister, who has always lived in a small body, she's short, just petite person. And we were talking and I was dressing in front of the mirror doing outfit of the day. And she kept getting in the picture. And I was like, stop it. you know, and I said something about, yeah, like, I think this might be it. Like, I think this might all be losing. I kind of come to terms with that, you know? And she goes, do you want to lose more? And I went, I don't really know. And she goes, I think you look great. And it was just really nice to hear that. Do you know what I mean?
So like, one of my good friends said to me one day, and she's like, we're besties. She knows everything about my journey and everything. And she's a petite gal, similarly redheaded. And she hears me rant because she's the one in-person person that I talk to any of this about. And one day she just stops me. She's like, do you think skinny people don't have any problems? She's like, life's really like, it's not that much different.
Yeah.
And, it just goes, and it was kind of a realization, right? Because I have internalized that if you get to this, then everything's perfect.
It's not.
Yes, absolutely. Like, we don't have problems. We don't have this or whatever, right? I say that about my sister a lot. Like, out of all of us in our family, because we're all on these meds except her, she always looked like the picture of health, like what we decide health is in this country. Like, I think stereotypically, right?
That's a good point. At what we decide is
a healthy eater and a clean eater and a yoga person. And like, she's trim and she's petite and she's just very lovely. And you would look at her and she's the one that almost died. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's why I think one thing that I feel like I learned, right, is I judged people in the beginning. Did you guys?
I just said that. Yeah. I mean,
if I saw people that looked to be in a what we thought was a small body, right? Like, or I was like, what the hell are you doing with my medicine? Just like, I feel like people who had type 2 diabetes were like, where is this fat person taking my diabetic medicine? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was the same kind of thing.
Yeah, they might be taking it for, cardiovascular benefits, or they might be taking it for sleep apnea.
There's many indications that are approved now and hopefully be approved in the future. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, if we keep fighting amongst ourselves, then we're not fighting the drug companies.
Absolutely.
And listen, we got a big fish to fry now.
Yeah.
What's the fish? Should we go into the fishes?
Let's
make GLP-1s affordable.
Loaves and fishes. It's time.
We need a footage.
Joe, will you stay and talk the tea with us? We should do our clip.
We should do some beans first. Some beans.
Some beans? We need bean footage? Yes.
Bean footage.
Bean footage.
I love that bear. Bean footage.
Bean footage.
Here we go.
Food has definitely been a very dominant voice in my head. That's not the main focus anymore. Dieting, exercising, and adding GLP-1s through Row is a game changer. I have such a sense of mental freedom since I started with Row. Food no longer controls my thoughts. Family time used to revolve around food, and now it revolves around what we're going to go do together.
And now back to regularly scheduled programming.
Oh, we're about to get.
That is such a good commercial.
I love that's a great drop, John. Great drop.
Thank you, Kat.
Not encourage
the love that I get from Kat. I want all of you to know that this is what I'm looking for. This is what makes the bear feel good.
Get out of here.
And now back to the plus sides with Bear. Okay, I'm gonna do that with the tea.
Yeah.
Here we go.
I could not love that
so
more. Oh my gosh, I love that.
I'm not a graphics person, so like I feel like the top is cut off, and I don't know how to fix it. I can't figure it out.
It's perfect in its imperfectness.
This looks like you're wearing a company t-shirt, right? Like a company shirt, and then this. It looks like a work shirt.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, right? We were really surprised when we were in DC and walking around in them after the hearing, how many people were like, what's a GLP-1? What's GLP-1? You know?
I actually want
in his autistic way, like, would be like, let me explain the science. Like, you know, it was like, and I was just like,
share it with us, John.
He's come so far, hasn't he?
I want to put that on one of my hoodies, actually, baby. I want to take one of my Carhartt hoodies up and put that on one of my hoodies.
I wonder if we all just had one of the places. Like, it was like a campaign that we all did as a community. Like, wouldn't it be cool?
We want everyone to wear one, but we have to have it available on the
I need someone to help me with the logo. Because I had somebody else make that one. And
who does graphics?
I can ask AI. I've been playing with the
AI is perfect.
They're awful.
You know what?
It might be funny.
Might be funny.
Let's go to Fiverr.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out for sure. 100%. It does. I'm telling you, people are curious. And then some people were like,
wants
yeah,
to
like
whenever they
Ozempic,
say that,
you know?
whenever
That's
we
how I
learn.
answer the question. You know? I was like Ozempic. And they're like, oh, yeah,
Like
my mom
Ozempic.
used that. You know?
You have to give them more than that.
Sure.
You have to give them much more than that. When you say like
We're very
Ozempic,
positive today.
you have to give them all the information.
Bear, would you like to hang out and be on the Plus SideZ?
Yeah, come on, hang out with
Yes,
us.
Okay.
I,
You seem a
I have
little
it.
lonely.
I am.
Bear extraordinary. Okay. All right.
Very.
Let's talk tea. So obviously we have a new presidential candidate. And so when there is or not candidate thing, I don't know, what do we call it? Elect?
President-elect.
President-elect.
Yes. You can Kim's very political, clearly. And when that happens, there's a change of guards, right? And so I think that we can probably speculate a little bit on some policy stuff. And we have had some stuff come out from Endpoint, was talking today. And we did in our community, many of us, if you haven't seen it, that doesn't shock me because we're suppressed as hell, or at least I am. Robert, we call it Robert Kennedy Jr. is right. This is saying,
Yeah, RFK.
Yeah, RFK. Did make a TikTok or make a video. No, he was on that show. What was it again?
Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan.
Well, he was on Joe Rogan. He was also he was on RFK. He was on Greg. I think he was on Greg Gutfield when Greg asked him or it could have been that could have been him on Joe Rogan though. I could have mistaken.
It was on Joe Rogan too. I just found that out. Yeah.
I'm gonna come in here with the pop culture reference, and I'm gonna go out because I need some levity.
Right.
I'll be just personal. I need levity today.
All right.
Whenever I hear the word Joe Rogan, if anybody watched the Dave Chappelle show 20 years ago,
yes, of course.
This is Joe Rogan from Fear Factor, and you've got a great set of New York boobs.
That's all I hear in my head.
There you go. It hasn't changed much. That's pretty much his line.
This
still,
is
right?
Joe Rogan.
You just hear Dave Chappelle.
He's like, "Hi, everybody."
See, now you've got me thinking about the ribs, though. Now I'm gonna have ribs on the mind.
Food noise. Did you eat dinner?
Dang it, Kat. Yeah, I ate, but now I'm gonna think. Don't you remember the segment they did where you can't sleep, and then you said that
makes you
Dave
go to
Chappelle
sleep
with his
from the
freaking
ribs.
bucket of ribs.
It may cause mud butt.
Thank you for what Ren calls our son the comic relief.
I need levity, right? So, is anybody on the chat? Anybody out on YouTube? Do you remember that? Do you remember it, Pammy Joe?
Remember what, dear?
The New York boobs episode with Joe Rogan. Well, Joe Rogan made a lot of appearances on Dave Chappelle.
He did.
Yeah, he did.
Spaghetti. Okay, I'm gonna stop. That's another Joe Rogan. Not Joe Rogan. That's another Dave Chappelle show.
See, I'm gonna have to find reruns of Dave Chappelle because of you, Kat.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
My husband and I, for the longest time, we used to just talk to each other in Dave Chappelle quotes.
What I'm going to tell you may make
That's
you
fair. I like that.
Again, I don't like stand up. So whenever there was like I know, don't hate me, but I just need to
stand up while I work.
That doesn't compute. I can't. My brain is stopped.
I don't know, but I'll go to a Broadway show. Like, you know what I'm saying? But like, I don't
this
know.
Is
like
Joe Rogan with the Fear Factor.
I like when the comedians are in circumstances. I'm a sitcom girl. You know what I mean?
You like situational comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Spoonie. What's up?
You did. Oh, you got it. Oh, good, Spoonie. I've been meaning to change out the logo, so you may not have the best looking one, but thank you for buying one. Thank you.
Dogging yourself. Come on. Yes, thank you for
the support. But yeah, I can't get her to watch any of the good stand up. It breaks my heart.
Well, the Chappelle show is not stand up per se.
No, it's not. It's skit.
Well, Dave is stand up now, though.
Yeah, but it's really stupid comedy. It's like I always say, it's kind of intelligent at the same time.
I like
the way he would crack.
Well, for me, it was
very intelligent.
For me, it was earlier than Saturday Night Live, and I got a little bit more.
It would come on earlier.
Yeah, it came on earlier than Saturday Night Live.
Well, I was in North Carolina. It came on like a Thursday night on.
Yeah, so it was early. Yeah, it was like earlier in the week.
At night. Yeah,
and it was more risque. And I loved it.
Yeah,
like he went everywhere with his stuff, and I just, when comedy was comedy.
So whenever anybody says Joe Rogan, all I can hear is, "You've got a great set of New York boobs."
Really? That's what you hear every time? Dear Lord, Kat.
This is Joe Rogan
You're
from
walking
Fear Factor.
like encyclopedia of pop culture.
Until you get to like 2015, and then I just like
You just
I
got out.
stopped.
You were just.
But would we say that there was culture after, like, you know,
There is. Oh yeah, there's always that.
2000?
You're doing
Like, if we're real?
Whipping. We're getting
Okay.
like, sleigh ride. Back
So
in.
anyway,
Okay.
it went
Joe
south.
Rogan.
So with the Joe
Oh, yeah,
Rogan,
Joe
reference,
Rogan.
but yes,
Let's talk
RFK went
about-
on Joe Rogan and talked about.
Yes.
Sorry.
Oh, his voice is awful. Oh my
No,
god.
stop. We're not getting into that. Like, we've been very.
No, it's difficult to
We're
understand
not.
him.
But we're
No, it's not that. It was just because it's pharmaceuticals are going to get you hooked, and they're terrible for you, and now, yeah.
Okay, if we do that, people are going to think we're making fun. We can't.
And we
do
are
that.
not.
We're
I
not.
am.
We're talking about the facts. Okay.
Yeah.
So back to this. Stop.
Sorry.
All right.
I'll put myself in
So
the
back to
corner.
this. So he said when he was on the show and he asked him about like it helping people, right? I should have probably brought the clip. You have it somewhere if we need to show it. But asking about like these new medications helping with addiction, right? And then he was like, will GLP-1s or Ozempic, I think he said Ozempic because, you know, they'd be basic, right?
That's what everybody
make
knows.
America healthy again. And I'm like,
Right.
when was America healthy? I don't know. But regardless, maybe. And he was like, no, not at all. And then from my perspective, what he went on to say was that the medicines are very expensive and that he could solve obesity overnight by getting people good food for like 3 meals a day overnight, which I think is interesting.
And I gotta pop in on this one. And it is a running theme in the biohacking community, in the tech community, and it is front of mind for 10 or 15 years with a lot of celebrity doctors and things that food is medicine, and if we just fix the food, it fixes everything else. And as you heard me go on about this the other day, unfortunately, it doesn't, because what's broken in our bodies is not fixed by removing that food. It's like going skiing. You've broken your leg. Removing skiing from the equation doesn't fix the leg, right? It's a whole different problem.
Yeah. I love that analogy.
Yeah, it's a great.
That is the best, one of the best ways I've ever heard that explained.
Well, thank you. I'm done here now.
Thank you, Buddha.
It is. It's like skiing.
Yeah.
Right. And then also when that's the key word too. These celebrity doctors, these doctors who are doctors for celebrities.
Yeah.
What about average man? What about people who are in food deserts?
Or doctors who actually treat people with obesity and know that it doesn't work that way.
That too.
Not how it works. Yeah. I mean, we've been lucky enough to have several doctors on our show that not only treat obesity, but have it. Right. So hearing their perspective and their stories and their empathy and their.
Ooh, when it gets time for me to have the tea, I'm going to make myself a note to tell you about this one overweight doctor.
We're in the tea.
We're in the tea.
So one of the lectures I attended had an overweight doctor, and she was doing such a good job. And I was like, finally, because like it was rough for a while because all of the people in charge of everything and all of the people with the power and all the people making decisions about our healthcare were coming from the business person perspective and the them. They put us in the them, those people, the basket of deplorable. Sorry, we're not doing that. The basket of fat people, right? And she was overweight herself, and she started off so good about all of it, and then she just went on a rant about the unsafety of compounds. So she's no longer my friend.
Oh no.
But I was so excited to have a doctor who suffered from obesity at this conference speaking, because there were literally only 2 people out of the whole giant conference who I thought understood it in that way. Like even like the Noom guy, he's great. He's understanding as much as he can, but it's still missing a huge piece of the puzzle. Right.
Yeah. I really hope that our conversation with him will help them. You know what I mean?
I've been refraining from sending him an essay about dosing.
Hearing what Jenny just said, babe, maybe what we need to do next year instead of not just being at Obesity Week, not just being there, but seeing if we can either have our own panel or getting on a panel and bringing some of those doctors that we know
a lot
who suffer from obesity and other metabolic issues.
I will tell you,
are on these medications.
We do that in general. Like, I mean, like that's a whole year away, you know.
But still getting them on the panels, doing the tour that we're going to do too, bringing
academic. But I think that there's a good point there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, I know. There's a good point.
Okay, John, don't make me fire you. I want to.
Your pay is cut.
No kisses.
No Christmas bonus, sir.
Listen, I don't know. We'll figure it out. Okay. Anyway, okay. So speaking of this, right, with this happening, so specifically, RFK Jr. is a Democrat, but apparently has been talking about how he wants to clean up the FDA. So obviously the FDA has been a big thing in our world, right? So it's something to consider, right? Our GLP-1 user conference. Yeah, that'd be great. Good idea, nerd. Startup incubator. Slash. Which friend is that? I know it's one of our friends. Is it Will?
No, it's not Will.
It's not? No. Oh, I thought it was because he has so many accounts. That's a great idea. A user conference. I like it. It's like a con. GLP con.
It's a con. That's a con.
See, I've mentioned that to you before, baby. Thank you, nerd, for backing me up on that.
Con.
I've used, yeah.
Yeah, I thought RFK was an independent, maybe.
Yeah, I thought he was independent.
Well,
we can find out.
I know he at one point in time identified as a Democrat, which is all I could remember. So I was like, he's like that. Plus, I mean, that's just his family legacy too.
Find out though, so we have it correct in the show. If somebody, friends will Googles.
Oh, hold on a second.
Yeah, hubby's on it. And so him going and I guess somehow having some sort of role possibly in the new administration, like what that could mean. There was a screenshot, Jeannie. Remember I sent it to you? Someone sent it to Plus SideZ.
So he's an independent. He's ahead of his own party called We the People.
Yeah, because that's what he ran for president under, and that it was the independent. And I got to back you up a second. So I heard. So one of the things, Trump's interview on Joe Rogan, Trump's interview, not RFK's, he spoke quite a bit about, I'm putting RFK in charge of healthcare, women's healthcare, and different things. And then from the tweets and the things we saw today, and from what we saw today, that looks like it's what's going to happen, because RFK just, the one you showed me, that just plain came out and said it.
Yeah.
Like, here's what I'm doing. Like he's already been given the cabinet position.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Cause it's also, I feel like, and like, I'm not trying to get political, but I do feel like Trump changes his mind a lot. And
well, that's just it. Is like there's a lot of months between now and when he takes office, and honestly, who knows what will happen, right?
Right, the falling outs, yeah.
There's no, like, every candidate says all kinds of things that they're going to do, and what they get done is a different set of things.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah, but it does, like, I think the fact that Trump was so adamant about it, as well as RFK kind of stating it today. Here's what I'm going to do with the FDA.
Yeah,
that's kind of like, okay, this might be happening.
Extreme. It was like, actually,
it was extreme.
Yeah, put that up or read some of it.
Bring your records. Pack your bags.
Health is about to end. This includes its aggressive suppression of, I think this is psychedelics.
Yep, psychedelics.
Peptides, stem cells, raw milk, hypobariatric therapies, chelating compounds. I'm probably
chelating and hyperbaric.
Yeah. Okay. And then I don't even like these words. I don't even know. You know what I mean? Like, that's where I want to show if I can get the thing to come through, because it's on his post, and then he mentioned peptides. So like I was like, Jeannie, what do you know about this whole, like, what does it mean peptides? And then what do you have to say about that?
Okay, so there's a whole series of peptides used in cosmetics. used in all kinds of, and again, it originating in the biohacking world, and you see it very large in the bodybuilding and weight and high sport fitness community. You may have heard of BP 157, which is one of the first peptides that were injected for like joints, like it repairs joints, it repairs muscle, it does a lot of things that are pretty much proven. That group of things has had the same problems that our peptides have had, which is at the beginning, sterility issues that caused different problems. And long story short-ish, as I can get, a whole bunch of them were in use. And I don't know whether it was approved by the FDA or not banned by the FDA, but there were regulations in place. And doctors were using them. I sent you a copy of this podcast, Kim. Yeah. That's really interesting. And the doctor I listened to that was using them in clinic, and a lot of and they're expensive. Yeah. And treatment is expensive. So this is a rich person's game. Okay. And they're using them to great success for a lot of things. Ipamorelin is one I mentioned because that's one of the ones that's like the exercise in a pill one. It's like a human growth factor type situation. It was recently either deregulated or they put up stops. So those some 3 really big and popular ones could no longer be used. And that's what he's talking about in that, is that there's those peptides, because it's part of that Uber Fitness Live Forever movement.
Okay. Uber Fitness Live Forever. I don't even know any
of
this.
You know, the longevity movement.
No,
I think Madonna takes some of that stuff.
What is it?
Yeah, like the billionaire who took the blood of his son. You know that guy?
What? No. Okay, tell me everything.
So much to send you.
Oh my god. Yeah, tell me. See, this is why we have different people on the show, guys. Because
don't send her down too many rabbit holes, because then I have to go down them too. So think about me, please. Just a little bit, not a lot. Just a little bit.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
So and he's for these things, yeah? He's for these.
So that one he definitely is, because look at him, he's very fit, and he does all of that, like hiring the best to get as fit as he possibly can stuff, right? And spends his money on it. But here's what I think is an interesting thing is he also has a very hateful relationship with the drug companies. Yes. So he hates both the FDA and the drug companies because he hates that they're in bed together. So could that benefit us? I could see many pathways where that benefits us, especially if we call what we're using peptides.
True.
Right? Like I see all kinds of open pathways that are not completely closed off that might not make it the worst thing in the world for us if he, because if he's like, everyone peptides, everyone should be able to do them. Okay, well, forget the 5 out of 100 that'll die, but the rest of us can have, access to quality peptides.
And what is ivermectin? I looked that up. I was like,
oh my God. That is that horse drug that they were suggesting to cure COVID during COVID. That's when he really kind of went off parted from areas, let's say, into less proven areas.
You know what? There still are checks and balances.
Areas. Into less proven areas. Like the peptides have been proven in studies as well as they've been in clinical practice for a while, right? Yeah. There are some things that knee-jerk you might
that's when you
knee-jerk that you might go, okay, that sounds cuckoo. Raw milk, we talked about that earlier, right? But when you really dive, it's not as cuckoo as it sounds, and there's a scientific basis for a lot of things. But the ivermectin COVID thing really kind of got off the rails. It's a horse dewormer.
Here's my question about raw milk. Pasteurization disease, dysentery or something
So I love I love talking about this.
About it.
Yes, it absolutely can cause all that. Just like taking a compound peptide mixed up in your bathtub could cause the same problems. Now, the raw milk industry, you are not taking milk from a cow waiting in poo and living in third world conditions, or as when these laws came about, the earliest 20th century, when we didn't even have sanitation systems, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there are ways, like reputable raw milk producers, like the whole process is sterile and it's monitored. Like the pasteurization came into place because dairies were not regulated or were not producing clean milk, so to speak. Now it's evolved into that whole, and we talked about this, let's have an open mind, like let's revisit our thoughts, right? Like just like compound medications at the very beginning were probably a lot less safe than they are now. And as it shook out, they learned how to do it safely. And now we all feel like, I feel pretty safe taking my compound medications from a 503A pharmacy. Raw milk is the same way. You find a provider that's following all the safety standards.
Yeah.
I will tell you, I like unpasteurized milk. Growing up where I did in Missouri, I got to drink it.
Yeah.
And it's really good. I actually
I
don't
don't know. Like
even,
we had goat milk when we were at my uncle's farm.
I also don't mind drinking the milk straight after it's come out of the cow either. It doesn't taste horrible.
Yeah.
It's a little creamier, in my opinion, a little thicker. But it provides, like, you drink a glass of it and you feel pretty good. You feel full.
I don't know much about raw milk. This is super interesting. Yeah. I mean, I don't know about any of those things. I mean, I know there are people that did these things. I remember like AOD something, some sort of like peptide that people were like combining with compounds. Like when we first.
Yeah.
And someone had I remember hearing like, oh no, like the FDA is pulling that. And
that might be one of the ones they pulled. I don't know offhand the ones they pulled. I know ipamorelin was one, which is the exercise one.
Yeah.
Which showed a lot of promise.
Rosen told us about, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. That he did. He talked about that one
with the one of the episodes he did with us.
AOD 9604 just says that's what it was. And that was one of the ones that a lot of people were mixing with semaglutide, right? In the beginning. And then I don't know about tirzepatide, but definitely when we first got on the scene, like the scene of TikTok, pasteurization kills.
That's on the scene.
Bacteria. You grew up on a dairy farm. Interesting, Sandra. You're so
yeah. I started in on it when I was going down the be as perfect diet as possible, right? Yeah. Because there's a lot. It's got a good omega-3 to omega-6 ratio. There's a lot of reasons that why you would choose that if you have access to it. And I'm bougie as we've discussed, so I do. And like it was yet another in the long line of ridiculously extra things I did that didn't really change my weight.
Yeah. Interesting.
But that one stuck because none of us have teeth problems. My son never had a bad tooth situation. Cool. Mm-hmm. I think it did have some benefits. Yeah. And I don't get bloated or anything because it's not homogenized.
Yeah.
The molecules are bigger. When you do all the homogenization stuff, you get much, much tinier molecules and this is a theory. I don't know that it's been tested, but they do show in the wild, in use, the raw milk does seem to have some health benefits.
Interesting. So it sounds like we're saying maybe not necessarily a bad thing.
Oh, thank you. Bring us back around to the relevance. Yes.
Not necessarily.
Well, I mean,
we don't know. We don't know. Right?
But that's whenever we do tea, we always talk about that. We're like, this is what we're seeing. What do we think it could possibly mean? And then we ask the community and we all talk about it to get different perspectives,
Yeah. So, I see paths for it going very, very badly because his opinion of they just need to eat better food.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I also see his other opinion of big pharma FDA bad could maybe work in our favor.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think my issue was always when it comes to this shortage and them self-reporting and then going, oh, everything's cool. Because I was saying today, I got an email from Novo because I used to be on Wegovy that was like, hey, by the way, there's no more shortage. Oh, and by the way, if you have problems finding your medicine, and gave me a list of 3 different action items that I could take if I struggled. Well,
where was that?
Wow. Do you know what I'm saying? I thought, I got an email about it. Of course, it went nowhere because of the election and TikTok's day.
Yeah.
But that's what it said. And it was try your local pharmacies, refill your prescription ahead of time. If there's no shortage, why are you giving me this direction? And I think that is a problem. The fact that they can self-report, the fact that they could just be the shortage is cleared and huzzah and all that crap. I don't think that is okay. I mean, somebody does need to look into it. I don't know if it's, milk guy. I mean, go raw milk dude, because I don't know anything about him, but maybe, I don't know,
I mean,
so I
there's
don't know, think about it.
there's like Jenny was saying, there's possibility for good and there's possibility for bad.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the comment, because like when we listened to the video, that was really the comment that just like blew my mind.
Yeah.
The whole, hey, I can solve it. Oh, I can solve both overnight, by just giving everybody a good meal. I'm sitting there and I'm listening to that and I'm like, no, I ate really good meals, and so did my whole freaking family as a kid.
Yeah.
And obesity's still clearly in my family, as is diabetes and other things. So it's like, I know the eating healthy part by itself is not a solution. So like, how can you say that? So that concerns me.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of going in there and fixing the way the regulations are set up, removing obstacles that don't need to be there, tightening up on areas that need it. I like the idea of that. It's
the
just
idea.
rather, well, because I know what I think should happen,
right?
But that doesn't mean that that's what everybody else thinks should happen. That doesn't mean it's the best thing. So it's like, I like the idea of it because it's something I think about.
But John, I thought you made a good point when we talked about it. So a couple of things. One, John's like, we can't get into politics, Kim. Like, we're for everybody, right? And he's right. So we don't, right?
Yeah.
But ultimately, I have always been open from the beginning that I usually sit in the middle when it comes to politics, and that I am passionate about PBM reform. Like, so and the TROA, like I am, like, and regardless of wherever I've never hid that. Like, I think that's really important because I think obesity can bankrupt our country if we don't address it. So I do believe that. I've always said that on every platform I've ever had. So it's not a secret, right? But in terms of like this change, right? I get a little concerned about the fact that I think, and this is just a general statement, that a lot of times, Republicans aren't big into regulations, right? And so I think there's just like traditionally. So I worry a little bit that maybe the movement that's been happening there, bipartisan, like with the Senate Help Committee, might be slowed, and that concerns me.
Going away. Period.
Yeah.
Another point of view on the thing. What I was just re-looking over his comment, and he specifically said, can't be patented by pharmacy in talking about the peptides. And here's where that comes into play, right? We all know GLP-1 is going to be the original, the GLP-1 might be soon. I forget, is it in a year or 2 years where they're going to be able to start going to court over the patent on the peptide?
Yeah.
And if he gets his way, that could definitely fail. So what that means is then GLP-1 can go into what's the word? Generic.
Yeah.
Right? That could happen. And then Mounjaro, the tirzepatide, that will be still in its honeymoon period where it has the 5-year protection.
Right.
So that would take longer, but it could mean semaglutide is available for generic soon.
Yeah.
If he gets his way.
Interesting. Like something to think about. And like, that's what, remember when Dave made that video about how they were trying to make it to where they were saying that you can't compound triple G, right? That's what it'll to do. So to hopefully never have this issue, I guess, in the future. Clever. So I'm wondering, because a lot of people have said, and I know Dave has talked about this, about how peptides technically are just like strings of amino acids, right? So it's easy to replicate. Although now we know the drug companies are saying, no, it's hard to replicate without issues. So there's a lot of that's been going around, I think, in our community, and I'm interested. My biggest concern, like Gore said, was I hope it doesn't slow reform, because I think it's needed. And my other concern is I think he needs to learn a little bit more about this disease.
Well, and I think that goes to a bigger picture, which we as a community need to kind of rally around, is having our talking points on lockdown about explaining that it's not just about our food system, that once we're broken, Like, let's just talk public health and take the blame away from what someone did, right?
Yeah.
We've all got the broken legs now. It's harming our public health, and getting that idea across that, yes, we absolutely need to fix our food system. That's not, no one's saying we don't.
Yeah,
it still doesn't address the problem of obesity in place right now. Right.
And I know what they're thinking, right? They're like, oh, we have seen people that have made these changes and lost the weight. Here's the thing.
Absolutely.
Scientifically, the majority of those people are going to regain within like 3 to 5 years. Like they just are, you know?
And then as Dr. Matea said, it's like, it's a 10% loss for the most, you know, like, and those studies that show that in a study, it is considered a successful weight loss if it's 5% of your body weight. Right.
Yeah.
But when you look at the person that was 300 pounds who lost 5% of their body weight, no doctor is looking at them and going, okay, you're cured. Right. They're still overweight. They still have all the health problems or many health problems, even though they're improved. And you can give them all the great food in the world. It doesn't fix if overeating is part of their problem.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know there are some people in our community that are like, we've always eaten about this much. And there are people that they're like, we only ate this and they weren't overeaters. We've had many people on the show. Rosie is actually a good example of this. She was like, my friend who exercises and all the things, when I would say, Rosie, you eat a fraction of what I eat. Right.
Yeah.
But Rosie also had the noise and she also needed the Halloween candy. Like,
that's right.
So it's a thing. Like it's but it's what our body does with it. Right. And I think that people just don't understand. And I would just love, I saw a quote in one of the articles that I read on Endpoint where a woman was talking about kind of how she likes to educate around the food. I think it might be interesting to have her on the show. And she's kind of against GLP-1s, but it might be an important conversation. Maybe we can hear.
I would love to have those conversations.
Right? Maybe we can hear what she says and she can hear what we say, because ultimately, if we do that, maybe we can find some things in the middle and learn from each other. I'm not saying like it's going to.
Well, there are a lot of things in the middle, because if we had a good food system, we would have a lot fewer people go down the road of obesity, right? So they're two separate issues. They're preventing future obesity,
which I'm for,
and managing future obesity. So maybe someone only becomes 20 pounds overweight instead of 200 pounds overweight, depending on their body. Right. And then there's addressing people who already have the disease of obesity, and we know food supply won't fix it.
Yeah. And I think that was interesting about the guy's name that I always forget. Is it Chris? What's his name? From
we talking about
News Nation.
Oh, Dan Abrams.
Dan Abrams did make a good point when he was doing that interview with Dr. Kaplan, who was just on our show, and some other guy that's like the food Kaplan and Jillian Michaels, right? Baby. But I know I'm such a mess, right? I have a lot going on. Be nice. Okay, but I thought it was interesting because he did say, wait a minute. Can't we just all say that like maybe everybody's coming from a good place? Maybe the food is bad and we need to fix the food, but maybe also sick people get medicine. And I was like, yes.
Yeah.
Did I get it? That's great. Is that his name?
Right, Dan.
Because it is. And I think for the plus sides, like, are you guys, I think that those will be good guests. Like, I think if we want to really
absolutely,
we'll need to challenge the status quo. We'll need to open our minds and listen, and hopefully
there's no one out in the world at large with that message. It's all
this or that.
treating them and they don't get into the real meat of it. They just talk about the surface level. Hey, if people ate better food, they wouldn't be as fat. Well, that is true. That won't fix people who have, like they just stop there, right? Yeah. Because everyone can get on board with that idea. We do have a terrible food system. And the terrible food system likely contributes to how severe your obesity is. Absolutely. Right? And once you get really severely obese, it doesn't change it to fix your food. Removing what broke you doesn't fix you all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that there is a common misconception that when you're on these medicines that you just like don't eat and you eat like 500 calories a day. And look, I'm not going to lie, guys. In the beginning, I had days like that. I did.
Never. I used to get so jelly. I'd be like, all
right. I've never had the hard to eat enough calories day yet.
Oh, yeah. I have them all the time. But
I wanted to talk about that with the Noom guy. I'm like, really? Because I'm on 15 and have been on 15 for a really long time, and I've never had a side effect, and I still overeat. Yeah,
I am ravenous on it. I don't overeat though. That's the thing.
I think Sandra, just look over here. Sandra's making good points. When she's like, the same as saying we don't need to treat diabetics. We just need to fix the food.
Yeah.
Right.
And he did say that. He was talking about diabetes and obesity in that statement. So he did say
Sandra.
that. So I think, but what the one that was saying about that article, that girl, she said, and I don't know her, I just saw it in the article, but she sort of like educates around like food and how it needs to be better. And, you know, her mom died of cancer and had pre-diabetes and things like that. I was treating it kind of late and blood pressure problems. And she was sort of talking about that in this article, which I was like, okay, I'm listening. Right. And then but she's not necessarily for GLP-1s, but she is for like all of these changes with food. And someone asked her, like, how do you feel about who's in office? She said, I'll educate whoever's in office. I think we need to be like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I think when it comes to what we're trying to achieve, right, which is the bigger picture, right, with Plus SideZ, we do all of the things that are important in terms of being creators and having other shows. There are other podcasts that have popped up that it's wonderful. Go watch them and support them. More voices are good. So I think that just it's something that we need to think about. Like, I may not be talking to the person that I like or the person that I want or whatever, but ultimately I do need them to learn so that they can make good choices. And I'm not sure that they know. Like I was very encouraged by the way the senators were talking about obesity, but do I think that they understand insulin resistance? No.
They don't understand TikTok. They don't understand how to check their email.
No. Like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It makes me think of our text conversation we had earlier. Yes, it's true. But yeah, that's my life every day.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think, but I think like, remember we had on Dr. Kaplan, and he was saying that, Senator Cassidy is a doctor. And like, I think he was like a teacher when he was in school or something.
I think it was when it was like surgery.
Yeah. So, but regardless, I think we've also seen that there's a lot of GPs, right? They don't know shit about this. They
really don't. They really, really don't.
You know? And so,
well, here's my
at a level, right? As non-medical providers, to make them go, oh, and maybe I should dig a little deeper and I should listen to the voices of the people that are sick, you know?
Right.
You know, I think that's important, and the stories, and they aren't hearing it, right? They hear the media sensationalism, weight loss shots, you know, and compound theory and all that.
They still have, they're all very surface, very unsophisticated talking points as the extent of their knowledge. And this is why I got so excited and hassled you while I was at conference. I'm like, we have to do this, because I really realized after getting to, you know, pretend I was one of the elite for a week, I really saw that we are the experts, right? Like, yes, we can't offer medical advice, and no, we can't treat an individual, but I 100% money would bet I could pick out 10 of us from TikTok against 10 doctors from thing, and we would have a vast amount of knowledge compared to them.
Doctors that are not obesity specialists.
Right.
Yeah. Like, and here's the thing. I do think that they're not under their obesity is a specialty, right? We know this.
Yep.
But ultimately, it's still pretty, like, in terms of medical, new.
2011.
Yeah. Like, I mean, and for medical, that's new, right? Like, I mean, we're thinking like to us, we're like, whatever, like data.
But you know what?
No?
That's something that reminds me of that Dr. Kaplan said in our interview we had with him was a lot of doctors are going to have to just start to kind of learn to practice obesity medicine while they're practicing their other specialties. Like, it's just something they have to learn.
So this brings up another thing that I have on my list that I was going to talk about from the conference was there was a huge groundswell of everyone kind of accepting that specialists of the future are going to be virtual clinics. Like, not just obesity. This was for across the whole medical field. Telehealth, virtual health is coming in as the specialty clinic. Yeah. And there were tons and tons of how to teach doctors how to do telehealth medicine, how to work with people having, you know, a clinic for this. And like, we're all just going to have our handful of specialists and have a different telehealth group for each one. Like, there are certain things that have to be hands-on, but like they were training people that, like, the whole industry is learning how to have specialty care finally for people.
Yeah. I mean, like, I was just thinking in terms of like, if you had an actual like cardiology, right? Like if you had a heart issue, you're not probably, outside of like blood pressure, right? You're probably not going to go to your GP for that. Like you're going to go see a cardiologist. And I think that having doctors at least understand, I feel like the bare minimum things that we understand as people with obesity, because we've taken the meds, is you don't have to rush up in your dose, right? How do you manage side effects? Because ultimately they're mild and moderate and manageable for most people, as long as there's a doctor looking out for them, a clinician looking out for them, right?
They really are. And like, that's the other narrative that's like, there's so many side effects. I'm like, there really isn't in the wild. When you look at the population taking the medicine, it's few and far between and mild.
Yes.
In general, right? We're talking
every
averages.
time I do a live, someone comes in and says,
right,
I almost died. I was in the hospital.
Right.
My provider is an obesity management in PO. And she's
nerd startup incubator. Good for you.
That's cool. I love that. Yeah. I mean, I think there are a lot of clinicians that are, NPs are a super good example. John and I both have an NP we love that takes care of us. And I think that's a really good example of being able to scale, right? Because ultimately, and we've talked with doctors about it on the show before, specifically Dr. Lee came on and we were talking about how there are not enough doctors to take care of the amount of people that have obesity. It doesn't exist.
Right. Oh, no, there's not even close.
Not even specialists. There aren't even enough clinicians at a level that can prescribe to be able to treat the amount of people that have obesity.
I know the numbers on this. There's 11,000 doctors that are obesity doctors, and we have over 1.5 million people just on compounds, not to count the people on the branded medications. Right. That big number is into the trillions of spending last year. That's how big it is. Yeah. And 11,000 doctors are board certified.
And then, that's a big jump in 2 years. Cause when we first started reporting on it or talking about it, it was like 5,000 or 6,000.
Yeah.
So that's double.
2011 was the first year that came to be.
Wow.
It's very young.
Wow. But the science isn't young. That's the thing. The science is 20 years around. Like, so I feel like, we've known about these things for a long time. I just think that it's continuing to get like refined, I mean, I have moments where I'm like, we are in the middle, like not just of a movement, but cutting edge science. Like we really are. And we're getting the ones that are able to take it are very blessed to be able to take it.
Well, seeing everything is happening, I really think that obesity is not going to exist in the same way it does now 10 years from now. Unless like those of us that already have it, we might get stuck in the crossfire of it's your fault. So, but like, I think they're going to be able to prevent it for sure, or do a lot better job of it in the future.
It makes me think of like what Jeff Cook said yesterday. Well, we'll allude to it with our interview with the CEO of Noom, with what Jeff Cook said, that he sees the situation being sort of like antiquated in years to come. The spectrum of GLP-1s, obesity, making obesity as a disease or whatnot, like it's all going to be kind of like old hat.
Yeah, and I think his point about competition, like we're still at the beginning, right? There was just one, and then there was a second. We're going to have in 5-10 years, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of them.
Yeah, I think what, and I'm not gonna lie, this keeps me up. I think the stat was, and Jeannie, I bet you know it, like only 12 people, or not 12 people, 12% of people have actually been able to try a GLP-1. Like, I mean, that's minute. Like that's so in the meantime, while society's trying to get their shit together and we're trying to get new medicines to market, people are dying or suffering like needlessly, like millions and millions.
Or like the doctors do such a poor job. The person's like, oh, I've been on it for 2 weeks and I haven't lost any weight. I don't want to keep doing this. Right. When they have severe metabolic issues.
Absolutely.
Right.
And they're just like, oh, well, just one more thing. I'll just accept it. Right. And like, I think too, like in the beginning, when we started Plus SideZ, I wanted, so like Nate's been on our show, right? Like I wanted people like Nate that were having a hard time getting around, right? To have a place to go where they could learn so that they would want to go to the doctor, right? And they would not feel afraid or alone, and they would be able to like learn. That was one of the biggest reasons that I wanted us all to come together, like outside of TikTok, the echo chamber, So I think like things like that to help people actually go, because there are so many people that are so terrified by all of this nonsense that are sitting at home with type 2 diabetes or pre-diabetes and obesity, and they're not going, and they are going to get sick, and they are going to die like way sooner, like, and suffer the suffering part. Right.
Well, and And this sounds really pedantic, but until I had started the meds, and you as you know me and can tell, I know a lot about this stuff. Yeah. Until the food noise was gone, I had no idea.
Totally. I didn't either. And like, I will tell you, and that's one thing we talked about with Rosie and lots of people on the show, as I was like, would you have believed this if somebody told you? And she's like, no.
Not at all.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you feel like a drug pusher because like, you just have to try it. You just have to try it. It's like, which, you know, we're the best.
I know, like with people I know, I'm like, just start it. Then we'll talk. Just start it.
When my mom started it and my sister and I were on it, I was like, she goes, oh, I'm just a little worried because I know mom's always kind of struggled with body positivity and like these kinds of things. And I was like, I just really can't wait until she sees the promised land and we can have conversations about it. Like, you know, because and we can, and it's nice. Like we have a whole segment now called Moments with Mom, where we talk about like diet culture and going through it together. You know, so I think like it's great when I hear somebody talk about it and the light bulbs that they have. They're like, oh my God, you know, that's my favorite moment. You know,
it really is.
And like a lot of times people that come on that are like, love the show and they're just starting their journey. I watch, this sounds creepy, but like if they become creators, I watch them because I know about halfway through is when they're going to go, right? For the most part, I know they're going to get to like 5 or 7.5 and go, holy crap. Right. And then I'm like, want to come on the show? You know what I mean? Like, you know, because you need the realization that it's not your fault. You really do. And it's just really difficult to have with all the trauma that we've had living in this society.
Yeah. It's hard to accept that.
Yeah, it is. Same. That's when I knew when I no longer binge ate chocolate. Yes. After
an excellent week.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. Let me tell you, John always has told the story before where, for our Nerd Startup Incubator, where, he always would bring me home big chocolate bars, big Hershey chocolate bars.
Go to Walgreens, big Hershey chocolate bars.
And it was sort of like a guy that buys you flowers. My husband buys me chocolate, you know? So he would bring it home and he was like, and I remember like getting it to you and you're like, I don't really want that. And he was like,
shoot. I'd be like, I still want it.
Yeah. If I do have it, I have a
but right. It's
going
gonna be
I really do.
it won't be consumed all there in one sitting. It'll be, but yeah.
But I used
to. Okay. So for anybody new listening, here's the thing to know. And I tell this to people on the phone all the time. I talk to people who have special cases and special needs to figure out if they need to use these medications. And money is an issue for people, right? You can save so much money on your food budget. Like, I'm not kidding you.
Absolutely.
Like, at least you can come. I would challenge anyone. Like, once you start semaglutide, and I try to tell this to people, but it's almost like food noise. I'm like, you don't understand. Once you start it, like, just start the semaglutide, and then within a month, you won't feel you are deprived by just opening a can of beans and eating some rotisserie chicken. That is what you all want.
That's a good.
I have the cutest little tidbit right there.
Yeah.
One day last week, I don't know, we decided that we were going to go uptown and eat at the local Chinese buffet.
Yeah.
And Cindy, she knows my kids, my grandkids, all of them. We go in there. It'd been months and months and months. She said, why do you no come back? Why?
Did we do something wrong? And you're like, well,
why do you no come back?
I'm not eating like I used to. Yeah.
I know. I'm like, we got skinny.
Right. And it doesn't crawl over into the weird deprivation area, right? Like, that's the hard part to explain is like, right? Like, you won't feel deprived. You won't feel any of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you just all of a sudden don't feel the call for it anymore.
It's so easy to eat cheaply and enjoy it in like just as much as you would. Like, honestly, like because I'm perfect, right? I don't eat out or eat fast food. But so I hadn't been to like a fast food place in years. And like, I saw recently at the airport how like when I was traveling, how expensive fast food is now. I'm like, good Lord, like
very expensive.
2 people, 2 meals a week for a month. That more than pays than the medication.
So expensive. Yeah.
Yeah. People don't realize it, right? Because they don't realize when that's going to happen, when that's going to hit. And, you know, kind of this like investment piece, you know, I think that you are investing in your health, but But ultimately, like, still most people aren't going to be able to afford $200 and $300 a month. That's a car payment. I mean, it's a small car payment, but it is one, you know? I mean, maybe not, okay, it's not the car payment of today, but it definitely is like 7 years ago, maybe 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I mean, it is. I mean, that's the thing is like most people aren't going to be able to give that up. And certainly most people can't pay what used to be a mortgage, right? Which is, you know, $1,000 a month. It's hard to find anything under that now. Right. But that's what I think I feel like those are one of the two biggest expenses for people, right? Is like your car and your house. And
and you think of it in terms of that, right? Yeah.
Yeah. That's what they think is, how am I going to pay that bill? How am I going to pay that bill? And they see it like that, right? How am I going to
They do, because your food budget, you don't have it as a lump sum every month, unless you're like real intense.
Yeah, sure. And some people are, you know, but yeah, I think that, you know, there's a lot of change that's coming down this year with changing of guard, so to speak. I don't know. And, you know, I'm hoping there will be some things that are in our favor. I think that ultimately, and, you know, when Jenny reached out to me, I think you were probably shocked that I was like, hell yeah, let's do this. But I think that we do have to think about how we can collectively come together.
Yeah.
Right. And what I mean by that is outside of just digital world, right? Whether that's GLP-1 user con or going to Senate hearings or whatever it is, because what started moving things for us is showing up where they were talking about it, right? John, I have given you 500 million props. You're just going to have to let it go at some point.
No, I know. I was saying we're going to go to you said the next thing, and I said Dallas.
I thought you were like, Mounjaro.
No, I was saying Dallas. We're going to go to Dallas in February.
Well, I don't know, honey.
No, I've already told you that.
I mean, I don't have a job. We have to figure out how this all happens.
We have already talked about this.
Oh my God.
Dallas, folks. That's where the thing's
we're going to have to raise some money if we go to Dallas. I'll tell you that. Like,
it's going to be Dallas. I don't know where, but Dallas, Fort Worth.
Okay, sure. Well, regardless, we do have been thinking about doing like something like that. And I haven't talked to Dave about it yet, but I was thinking like, what if we did something with Dave, or what if we got Ro to sponsor it or something like that? Like, what if we got some sponsors involved and we had like a con, or we had like, where we record an episode of a podcast and it's like a podcast tour, right? That might be something, but it's about being somewhere and getting written about, right? To continue for people.
Right.
It's easy to swipe. It's easy, you know?
Yeah. It is. And what I learned at this conference was that almost all of these medical conferences seem to have like media stations where people are there doing their podcasts or doing their recordings. You know, podcasts are the media. That's how a lot of doctors learn, get their continuing education and do all kinds of stuff that way. And like they're set up. So maybe start like, what's close? What are things that are happening that are close? Another arena, I think, really big for get it, like the brass practical tacks of how can we quickly get our insurance to pay for these medications, is a push to communicate with your employers.
Yes. How can we do that?
So if you email the hello@joinfridays.com, we can send you a package that has all the information. So hello@joinfridays.com. And we can get that to you. But what I learned, and this was one of the things I was doing at the conference, was meeting with benefits managers who are the people picking it. And here's what I heard, which was one of the things that excited me most and why I reached out to you, was they are hearing unhappy employees when they're not covering it. They are starting to see it as something they need to offer, and they are looking at ways to reduce the price on it. You're going to have companies that are just nope, too expensive. Then you're going to have companies that do the entry like Noom, and then their employees might have a safe option for compounded medications. Like I look at it like, well, as if the company is helping fund someone to be a member of Join Fridays, and then they might feel better about ordering semaglutide from Fridays, or if we can't get them covered on their meds. And I just think the more progress we make in that, like having those conversations and talking about it to your benefits people in the right way, explaining to them what we were talking about earlier, that fixing all the lifestyle stuff doesn't often fix the broken part. You want this investment you're making to be permanent. You want to see future healthcare savings after that 1 year mark, so you can get a return on this investment. And we know we can get you a return on this investment if you do it this way.
Yeah.
You know, the medications plus the lifestyle.
On investment. When we were talking about that. When we went to the Senate hearing and they were talking about like all of these different health conditions and the drain that it's had on this country and healthcare and like the future with Alzheimer's and that kind of care and all this different things, right? Innovation. I remember thinking, I'm not sure if they understand that the ROI, it will be fast, right?
Very fast.
Like most people are getting on these and they're seeing return on investment.
Well, and I read there's been one officially passed around study type situation, and I read it very carefully, and there were so many flaws and so many things they got wrong basically on it. And theirs was like, it's a 3.2 year ROI. And I'm like, oh, but they got this all wrong and they didn't take this in. Like, it was just so surface level, like back of the napkin, it felt like. But that's the only one out there. And then all of these super high level decision makers, that's what they're looking at right now. And just like we saw that report come out showing, oh, actually obesity is not going up anymore, y'all. I have a feeling over the next 6 months and a year, we're going to see more and more like legitimate accounting studies showing a faster ROI.
Yeah. DEI. Yes. Diverse. That I was making, I don't know what that's going to say with changes of things, but a lot of companies have departments and heads of diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Yeah.
And ultimately obesity is a disease, right? It is. So a company should be very inclusive, right? And be able to have chairs that hold more than 300 pounds, right? They should be able to do all of those different things. And they should afford or be able to offer obesity medication because it's for a disease, right? Like then it is for a disease. And I think there just needs to be some change there. And if a company says that they're diverse and equitable and inclusive, put your money where your mouth is. Like, that's all I'm saying. Sometimes there's a way with initiatives and companies to be able to like leverage that. And we've had some people in our community have some success.
Right. That is definitely another button to push because the companies will be, oh, I'm afraid I might not be in compliance. Right. And I want to see more people suing for discrimination. Yeah. I've read of 2 cases and one of them just went away. I don't know what happened to it. And the other, I don't know, like it's in process or something, but that's it. I'm like, we're all too scared to do it. We need some lawyers and some people willing to step up. And
there are definitely lawyers.
The lawsuit.
And I know one of them, which is Lee, but we need more. Like, there's definitely people like that understand this like better than we do. And thank God, like we have people that'll say those things. I think that's something that we may forget. And it's definitely something Rachel said like a year ago when all this PBM stuff was going on. She was making a video and she was like, we have a huge community and we are all sick. And I promise you that either someone does or know someone that does or know someone that does a lot of different stuff, like people in media, an attorney, like all of these different things.
Yeah.
No way there aren't people out there that have this disease, that have these expertise and these connections. Like, we've got to find a way to like just organize, and come together.
Yeah.
Question. Agree with lifetime benefit ROI. Yeah. Leads me to ask whose healthcare stays the same year to year.
Yeah.
My employer changed.
That's true.
Insurance company and annual basis.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've been pretty lucky. It always goes up a little bit. But for the past many years, but I'm probably an exception to the rule. So I've worked in tech, right? And in tech, it's very competitive, especially in cyber. And they want key talent. And there's not like for what I did, or I don't know, would do cybersecurity product marketers. There's not a lot of us. So they use that as like a competitive edge a lot of times and usually have some sort of decent health, right? So I found like almost always it would kind of stay the same, unless I was at a very small company and then like all bets are off. You just never know,
Yeah, when I was at McKesson, it stayed the same for all 4 years. Like they added a plan, I think, but the other stuff.
I think there needs to be more options for this buy-up thing. So like one thing Red Hat has, and I don't think I've ever had it anywhere before, is they offered this buy-up plan. So you could do the standard plan, which was much less expensive. You could do that healthcare savings plan also, which was an option. And then you could do the buy-up plan. The buy-up plan is going to cover things like IVF, right? Or obesity meds or bariatric surgery, right? The big expensive things. So that way people that don't have those things or feel like they need it, they can
Right.
do their plan. But like I knew that we had a lot of health stuff because we had obesity, right? And I did the buy-up plan, and luckily it covered the medications. And we still had to go through all the hoops to get our stuff.
Yeah.
But regardless, like, I think that companies should start considering that as an option. Maybe your people will be willing to pay another $100 a month to be able to access this care, right? Or $200 a month. Maybe they will. And you'll be getting it from the brand, and everybody will feel happy, and maybe you can add in behavior stuff or whatever you want. So I just think like, I don't ever hear that conversation being had. I think we probably, when we started, we had a couple people that work in HR. It might be good now to open up that conversation even more and see if we can get some heads of things, now that
I didn't hear much about that
thing now. Yeah. We had a couple of episodes in the beginning, but it was community members, right? That work in benefits, and I'll point you to those episodes. They're good ones. And it was very helpful, but still they're speaking as like, and they were all struggling to get approved. Like it was a hard time, but it was like in season 1, So I think
one of the interesting conversations being had is employers want to find a way, and they both on one hand go, there's no way to make this not be terrible. And it does sound like a good solution on one hand, which is divide people into BMIs where they're covering them for the really sick people, but not the, say, under 30 people.
Yeah.
Right. And they're just too scared to go down that path.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, the insurance companies don't. They're fine with being like, hey, if you don't have this, like, and they're making their own rules at this point, which is why it's straight trash. Like,
Yeah.
Well, my husband's insurance charges you more if you're a smoker.
Well, I think that's common for life insurance, but is it health insurance as well?
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
Maybe. If you report it.
Well, I don't know. They said they always had ways to tell, like you get charged an extra $50 a month if you're a smoker.
I have heard people like be able to get lower on premiums. I remember I had a friend, like her husband.
Or maybe it's the kind of thing they give you a discount if you're a non-smoker.
Yeah, or something like that. Yeah, instead of charge more, it's just
right now you have to go have a wellness visit once a year, and you get money off your insurance.
Yeah, interesting. I would fail that.
Yeah, at the last corporate office I was at, baby, they had a thing where if you joined this walking competition that the company ran annually.
Right?
You got a certain discount if you had the
Interesting
healthcare and the health benefit card thingy that you always do.
I gotta tell you, like, I have a dream. I have a dream where honestly, we don't have to justify that we are worthy of care. Like I really do, because what bothers me about it every time, it's not that people don't know, right? Like I don't mind ignorance. I mind willful ignorance. People where all the data is available and people just don't pay attention, or they've just decided in their head, no, that's not acceptable, or that they can fix it with the food or all this other garbage we always talk about, right? It bothers me. And that's why I'm like, well, maybe having these conversations with people who feel this way on the show will be good.
I think so. Well, also, if we can make some traction with them, like who knows when a soundbite will get out, and then you can start giving the right narrative to the right news station, right? Like, so we can get the right narrative in the media.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope so. Did we cover everything? I think we did.
It's all gross. I get you, Jess.
I think we did, and we did get political. I feel like that's a win day after election. Hashtag winning
I know nobody fought. What the?
So
I was promised to fight.
You were not. Don't stir the shit pot.
I mean, if you want to have a good debate after we go off camera, we can. I mean,
no,
I'm always up for an argument.
You're not.
I am. She doesn't want me to, but I'm up for it. I'm autistic AF.
You want me to fire you again? I'll do it. Okay, just like that. See.
Bear doesn't know who he's dealing with here.
No, clearly.
Madam
Secretary. That's what he calls me, Madam Secretary.
Madam Secretary.
Well, I think this was a great show. Did everybody have fun? Do you have fun, Pammy Joe?
Oh, I did. I love it.
Good. Thank you for telling your story.
Thank you, Penny. I enjoyed hearing that.
I'm not gonna make it. I'm not gonna make it.
Okay, so babe, they got us up to 21 likes. So they did more than what we agreed to at the time. So everybody gets to So everybody gets to vote in the comments on what city they would like our first podcast tour to be in.
And how much will you donate so we can get there?
No,
no, her job. Like
no, that's not what we're asking for.
I know, John.
Hush. This is me. This is Bear. Me and Sandra had a thing. This is Bear.
Fired. It's like the locked door trick, you know, like when you're trying to get in the door in the car and you're like,
okay.
Sorry.
Do you have a mute button, Kim, so you can mute him? Is that what you did?
I can, but he is an admin, so he can unmute.
Oh, okay.
See, he's muted right now. He doesn't.
Madam Secretary,
New York City.
Gina, do not encourage this bad behavior.
Now that's possible if we can get some sponsors.
I need a city, Karen, not the whole state.
A hotel sponsor.
We do need.
Okay, we got New York City. Okay, Spoonie. We have family in New York, so that could
Omaha. Jennifer, because Jennifer knows I'm from Omaha.
I mean, I got some kin outside of Omaha. I didn't like flying into Omaha, though. I'm not going to lie to you.
I flew into Omaha so much in my day.
Oh, I was about to say I've been to Omaha so many times. I used to in my travel job. Omaha was one of my cities.
Yeah, I used to go there a lot.
Okay, we got
San Francisco. What
about has the power?
Sacramento.
Encourage him.
So I can
what about Denver?
Denver.
Denver.
I've been to Colorado a couple times. Colorado does have some good medicine that I like, so
it's basically
that's
rich
always
hippies.
beneficial.
That's what Jeannie said. It's just rich hippies.
It's legal in Illinois.
It did. Omaha Airport.
How bad could that be? We'll all just eat gummies, hang out, and talk about.
So Jennifer, the last
camp in my basement.
Open in our town.
Sleepover, Buddha.
I love Northern California. San Francisco. I got stuck in rush hour traffic outside of after a Giants game. Anyway, I had to drive to Sacramento, and it was traumatizing. So yeah.
Well, so right now the person that's touched me the most has been Spoonie. So I'm thinking I'm thinking New York City, or Omaha for Cat.
New York City.
Well, one of our sponsors is out of New York. They hail.
Yeah, so that could be real beneficial. We going up there, wear my overalls. I get a spittoon, my little jug with the
when
3
you were on
X's on the side
GMA,
of it.
one of the people I work with there, so they were like, Bear's a star. I was like, yes, he is. And then I go, John, I said all these really smart things, and you said this little clip, and he goes, I need DC likes white men. Like they're gonna. I was like, oh no.
Okay, can I tell my bad joke? Are we done? Are we in politics? It's about politics. Are you ready for me to run your show? Okay, I've got a plan.
Everybody get in a safe place. It's just a joke.
It's just a joke.
Okay.
Let me hold your hand. But what we need to do is all convince Trump if he gives us these medicine, he won't have to look at many fat ladies. We'll be skinnier. It's a win-win. Like we get the medicine, and he won't have to see fat people.
You're a practical guy.
Just us cat ladies.
Just the cat ladies. I love it. See, everybody getting a safe place with just joke. Comedy's allowed.
He's like, I told you not to say that.
That was a good one, though.
Sandra, I used to like to chew on a piece of straw when I was little one.
What?
Yep. So Spoonie's pledging $1,000 to get us to New York. Sandra wants me to put a piece of straw in my mouth.
Spoonie, keep your money. We'll get sponsors to pay. I'm working on it. If you got any ideas, let me know.
Somebody said they're going to buy me new foundation. What's foundation?
Oh, do you mean like
my dear?
That's makeup.
I have 800 things.
Oh, I don't do that. I don't wear makeup.
Well, you are very pasty, dear. Oh, funny story, and then we can wrap up. So John and I's last name's Carlos, right? Because I married him. And I should have kept my name, but it's okay, it's fine. And let me tell you why. Because he came to me and he was like, listen, like my family, because he's really into like lineage and stuff. He's like,
genealogy.
We're descendant from like sure. We come like our descendants are like the Don Carloses from Spain. So we're like Spanish royalty. And he's like, and that's where it comes from. Tells me his whole thing. So then we do genetic studies because he's obsessed with genetics. He thinks it's fascinating. And he looks into it. We get it back. This man is paste. He is a Nordic guy. That's it. There's not a lick of Spanish. Not a lick.
Oh, John.
Not
Carlos.
a lick. None.
Oh.
And he's
Not a lick, but I'll tell you what.
How much Neanderthal did you have?
I haven't done the one that tells me how much Neanderthal.
You guys, here, this is the weirdly, bizarrely exciting brag I have.
Yeah.
The highest percentage of Neanderthal you can be, I am it. I am 4% Neanderthal.
Hold on.
Oh my gosh.
Which one did you go through to get that? Was it
23andMe?
I want to get them as a sponsor on the podcast because they are doing, they've got genetic testing.
Okay, I'm buying 23, baby. That's what I want for Christmas this year.
Do they have a data breach?
I want 23andMe.
Yeah, we need to have a talk about that offline. There's a few problems.
Here's the thing. I know
you can get there's many companies
that's been in security in terms of the breach thing, guys.
Everybody's had a breach.
Everybody's had a breach. I know. I literally know this. Like
I wish that many people cared about me to take my DNA and do what? What are you gonna do with it? Right?
It'll be cool though. I know Mochi is one of the telehealths that does like a blood work or whatever for genetic to see if like the obesity is genetic, right? But wouldn't it be cool if like people could get a kit? Right. And they could test.
That would be really cool.
Also, of course, it's been a few years. I could be wrong. I might not be updated, but when I got tested, I do not have the genetic obesity.
Interesting.
And it was a really weird percentage. Like, I'm like, oh, well, it's like 20 or 30%.
Yeah.
It wasn't helpful. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah. Yeah. And I wonder like how much of it, because they say like, it's a whole lot of, and we know we've talked about your story. Right. It runs in your family, Yep. So, I mean, there's a lot of reasons for obesity.
It's been 10 years, I guess, since I did that. So,
but Dr. Early did tell us on the show one time, she said 70% of your weight, like put aside obesity, just 70% of your weight is genetic. Like, you cannot control it. Right. And I think that we all are always forcing and pushing ourselves, right, to get to this thing that we need to be able to get to. And like at some point we have to find a way to have that.
And we have all of our brains have been formed with the idea that we get to choose exactly what our bodies are going to be. Yeah, and that's not the case.
And I think that trauma of feeling like I can't control the size of my body, right, your whole life, it really does have a profound effect on the way that you I think handle this journey for sure. Like it's more of a mental journey than it is physical. The physical always takes care of itself, but the mental piece, that's where the work comes in my opinion. It's a lot. Yeah. Anyway, how can we end on a good note? Got any more jokes?
Yeah. Nope, that was it.
Oh, damn.
My others are not acceptable.
You got any cat jokes, Pammy Jo? No, not today.
I only have one joke.
No jokes for you. Yours are usually insulting. No. No.
Madam.
Okay. How about some sort of like, what do you, Kat, you always end on something funny. Come on.
I do.
Yeah.
You want to down on the farm story?
No, dear God, please.
I used to call John at work when I worked with him. I used to call him Country Justice.
Country Justice. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Or
is that how you guys know each other? Was like Kat used to work with John? Oh, fun.
Yeah, and I used to work with Kat. Yeah, like they worked in a different department than I did, but at first. But Kat's known me a really long time. Since
Country Justice.
Yeah. So
Country
he knows as well. Look at that sweet kitty. That's a good way to end with a cute cat.
Oh my goodness. Oh, that's Bubbles, right?
Bubbles. And she's diabetic and she wears a Libra and she gets insulin twice a day.
Yeah. Bubbles, do you need GLP-1 too?
She needs kitty Mounjaro.
She does. So we can get her off of the insulin.
I know.
Got my dad off insulin. That was nice.
So, Pammy Jo, I too have a cat that just recently got diagnosed with the diabetes. I have researched extensively, like what kind of dose to give my cat if I wanted to do that. No, it's not a thing.
It's not a thing. Damn. It needs to be a thing.
Do you know that
genetic studies for
cats? Before you give them their insulin, you have
Sandra, that's funny.
blood sugar. You know how you do that? How you test a cat's blood sugar?
No, Paul.
You have to prick their little ears.
What?
That's wild.
It's so sad.
Not happening.
Your ears are like our fingers.
Oh, Big Daddy says Milwaukee. I donate to
Big Daddy. I would donate.
Big Daddy. Are you Mounjaro 15?
I was actually just fucking around. Like, I mean, like, you know, but like, man, that'd be great if we could actually put something together and all get together. You know,
I like, so Spoonie has really been kind to me. So New York is going to be.
You don't like Big Daddy?
I mean,
hey, Big Daddy.
You want to be the only Big Daddy. That's what it is.
That's what it
there's
is.
a joke, but I'm we can end now. I knew it was coming. It wasn't a good one, but
you want to be the only Big Daddy.
Awesome.
The lack of respect that I.
Let's do like you sound like Rodney Dangerfield. I don't get no respect.
I don't get no respect.
If I didn't fire you many times, and if you in fact didn't go off on tangents that I don't understand, so this is just the way of things now. This is just our culture. It's a little toxic. It works for us, you know.
All
right,
stop hitting me with the spoon.
We're going to roll bean footage. We're going to see you guys in 2 weeks.
Bean footage.
Please don't forget, we make sure like you're subscribed to the YouTubies, but which you probably are if you're commenting. But if you're listening, make sure you do a couple things. Like if you're listening, because we do this. Make sure that you are subscribed on the YouTubes and that you sign up for our newsletter so that you can do the Barbie Stanley Con list. Because I want to do that before the holidays. So you can give it away if you want to, you know. Big Daddy Bear.
Spoonie's the best.
Big Daddy Bear's trying to take your title. I don't like it.
No, Spoonie's giving it to me. Spoonie's the best.
All right. Let's roll the bean footage. I love you guys. We all love you. Thank you for coming and being part of the conversation. And we're going to see you not next week, the week after. Okay. All right, guys. All right. Awesome.
20 seconds a week to lose 20% of your weight in a year with diet and exercise. That's the power of GLP-1s through Ro. Ro helps find the medication that's right for you, based on cost, availability, and your weight loss goals. Losing weight with GLP-1s is possible through Ro.
Woo! I wasn't sure if we were supposed to leave or not, so I was like,
it. Let's take it away, guys. Good night. Woo!
Are you interested in understanding GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, or Mounjaro? Then join us on the Plus SideZ Cracking the Obesity Code, the groundbreaking podcast helping people change their lives one episode at a time. The Plus SideZ Podcast is a disruptor. We're breaking down barriers, smashing stereotypes, and sharing inspiring stories that'll leave you feeling informed and empowered. Join us every week to learn from doctors who are specialists around GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, and Mounjaro. They'll provide you with science and facts to validate these incredible stories. But that's not all. We'll also bring you the voices of the GLP-1 Mounjaro TikTok community, real people who face the challenges of obesity-related diseases and disorders and discovered the incredible plus sides of GLP-1 medications. Our episodes are filled with heartwarming stories, laughter, and moments of triumph. You'll connect with our amazing community members who are reclaiming their health and experiencing their fullest lives. Are you ready to embark on a journey of discovery and empowerment? Tune in to the Plus SideZ Cracking the Obesity Code, and together we'll change the narrative around obesity and end the stigma. Subscribe now on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform and join our incredible community. Let's celebrate the plus sides of life together, because every story deserves to be heard. Every life deserves to shine, and everyone deserves access to expert knowledge and medication. The Plus SideZ Podcast. You're not alone. It's not your fault.
Love you guys.
Good night.
Bye.
Night. Bye-bye.